Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, where we provide world-class education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. I'm Dr. JACALYN KERBECK, and our show today is The Wise Ones, and we are welcoming someone very special who hasn't been on the platform since we evolved USA Global TV and Radio, so I'm looking forward to chatting with him. Before we bring him out, let's welcome the star of our show, Mr. Red O'Loughlin. He was on here earlier with me today on food and our emotions. If you missed it, please go over to our YouTube channel, USA Global TV and Radio, and look for it in the archives. He's also one of our expert presenters on Talking Heads. He's an elevated listener, and of course, he is the host of this show and also of a new show that is coming out, Secret Squirrel. Let's welcome him, Mr. Red O'Loughlin. Hello.
Howdy, y'all. Thank you very much for that introduction. As always, Dr. Jacqueline, you make me blush sometimes. So anyway. But regardless, we're here. We're having a good time. We had a great show this morning. Talked about the Atkins diet, some positives, some negatives. Basically gave it a 2 thumbs up with reservations. And then later on this afternoon, literally in about an hour from now, we'll be talking about pain, management, control, options, all those kinds of things that may or may not be part of your life, but you might be able to help somebody. But that's part of the Talking Head show. But right now we're on The Wise Ones. And I met Bill Scalzitti through another networking group, and I've met him 3 times. And last time I was chatting with him, I says, Bill, really love to have you on my show. And he's kind of a master of love. And when I tell people on my shows, is my first love is chemistry. That's not the kind of love he's going to be helping you with, but he is an expert in that area, and let's welcome Bill now. Please join us.
Hi, Bill. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. Happy to be here.
Bill, could we call you the Love Doctor?
Well, you could.
You help people find love, and from what I understand, it's not outward; it starts inward.
Correct. I developed a methodology after 25 years of research on the subject and realized that the biggest problem single people have is that they don't love and respect themselves enough to realize that they could actually have the type of relationship they've really been dreaming about.
Wow, you're speaking to the choir right here, Bill, because I'm one of those people. So
my relationship with chemistry is unhealthy. Is that what you're telling me? It really and truly was my first love long before I met my wife, which has now been 55 years we've been married.
Wonderful.
That is amazing. Congratulations. Bill, the name of your business is Romance by Choice. What do you mean by choice? Because that gives us a lot of power to make decisions, and that can be scary.
Well, you see, that's the whole idea, since most relationships happen by chance. And that's why we have such a high divorce rate. That's why the single people have so much trouble with going from one relationship to another, to another, to another. It's because everything is done by chance. In my methodology, I teach people they have a choice, and they should look for what it is that is really going to make them happy, and how to date someone to find out if that person has the qualities and traits that you're really looking for. And so the people, we were never taught we have a choice. You mention that to some people and they look at you like you have two heads, But it's true. You do have a choice in who you get involved with.
But when somebody captures your attention, they look good, they smell good, whatever that attraction is, we focus on it. It may be just fleeting, but that's the initial perception we have. How does somebody really know what is going to make them happy? Because that's obviously should be long before you see the bride or groom of your dreams.
Well, like you said, you see someone that's attractive. All relationships usually start from some sort of physical attraction. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's that when you start dating the person, before you jump in totally 100% into this relationship, you need to find out about the person that you're dating. Too often, people get involved romantically, sexually, and they don't know the person they're with until later on when all the things start to surface. And then they realize, I don't like this person. And then they jump back out and they start all over again. So the whole purpose of date number one is to ever see if there's going to be a date number two, and that's it.
Do people make the same mistakes over and over again? Do they not learn from their errors?
No, we do not learn from our errors. That's the problem. We sometimes we're attracted to a certain type of person, and we just keep going for it for whatever reason, even though it keeps hurting us. And we have to realize why we do that and realize that that's not going to happen. It's not going to work out the way we choose. And there's so many stories like that over and over and over again.
Bill, I'm wondering, as a single person and a number of single friends, when you're asking someone what they're looking for, they immediately go into what they're not looking for. Well, he can't be this and she can't be that, and on and on. Well, what are you looking for? And a lot of times we don't even know.
Right.
And is that we don't know ourselves well enough? Is that what you're saying?
Right. So what I do is I have a long list of qualities, traits, personalities, habits, hobbies. We talk about all types of things, family and religions and all kinds of subjects, where I ask my clients to tell me the truth. They don't have to answer based on what their mother's going to like, their father's going to like, their friends and relatives are going to like. It's what's going to make them happy about each of these subjects. And from that, we begin to build the type of person that they would love to meet.
So you define the person first so that you know quantitatively what exactly they are and what would probably fit into their psyche so that they could live with this person down the road. Is that a fair statement?
That's correct. And it all depends on the stage in life that they're at. If someone is in their late 20s and never been married, well, that's one set of criteria. If someone's in their 30s or 40s and they've been married and now divorced and they have children, there are other issues that they have to learn to deal with ahead of time. For example, if you're a divorcee with children and say you have 2 children, well, the question is, how many children are you prepared to handle? If you met someone who has 3 children, are you prepared to deal with 5 children? The person may say no. Okay, then if that's the case, it doesn't matter the person you're with. The criteria is they're not going to get rid of their 3 kids. So that's not the person for you. If you meet someone who lives 3 hours away from you, you don't want that. You want to have someone where you can see them every night, every couple of nights, and you can't drive 3 hours. Why would you waste your time? People aren't necessarily going to move just because you start dating them. So people set themselves up for failure rather than success.
Sometimes we joke about what we want. I remember a particular group not that many years ago, just before COVID. The guy, I think, was 105, 106, and he was looking for a cute 80-year-old. Again, of course, it was comical, but again, what are we really looking for? And it sounds like to me you have, I'm going to say, a very intricate checklist of those things, those, for lack of a better word, skill sets that define us. That if that's filled and this is filled, that's probably going to be a hole on the other side that needs to be filled by somebody else. Do you see when things are exactly alike, there's a good match, or when there's holes that those things need to be filled in? What's the norm?
What we compile is an imperative list, an important list, and a deal breaker list. So the important list, there are items on there that you're willing to negotiate, you're willing to consider if everything else falls in line. The deal breaker list is an absolute no, done, don't even try. And the imperative list, obviously, are the qualities you must have in the person you're looking for.
So what makes us choose that Sir Galahad on the never to approach list?
You read my mind, Red.
It depends on, each person is different. Someone might say, I don't want someone who smokes cigarettes. That's it, done, deal breaker list. Someone may not want anyone who does alcohol, or someone who spends all their time fishing, or someone whose hobby is hiking mountains. There's all types of things that go into it. Some people don't want pets and animals. Some people do. So there's a number of factors that people have to think about for themselves.
So culture and race and religion, politics, I'm sure that, as you said,
Yeah.
cigarettes and alcohol, there's just a lot of deal breakers out there, yet we tend to overlook it. It's because we don't know we have a deal breaker list. Is that part of the problem?
Well, that's part of it. But see, what happens is boy meets girl. They are attracted to each other. They get involved sexually. They like that. The sex is good. They keep going back for the sex. It's like a drug. Instead of going in head first, they go in heart first. And that always or usually gets them in trouble. I know it sounds tough to say you need to go into a relationship head first, but when you do that, you're going to have a much better outcome.
Now, Bill, when you're talking about deal breakers, because I've been guilty of this myself, is you're attracted to someone and they have a lot of the check marks, but they don't dress the way that you would like them to dress. They don't speak the way you would like them to speak. And you think, raise my hand, oh, I can get them to change. Or, once I'm with them long enough, they'll be, and it never works out. But yet it's almost like a challenge that's a failure from the beginning.
Yes, it's pretty much a challenge. You're stacking the odds against yourself. I'm not saying that in rare cases it can't work, but why do you want to put yourself through that much angst? And when the odds are against you.
Yeah, that could be a show in and of itself. So.
I get asked a lot because I've been married over 50 years, what's some of the success? And I said, number one, don't try to change anyone. There was reasons why you were attracted to someone to begin with. That's what I concentrate on. Yeah, there may be things that they do that irritate you or you wish they didn't. But the minute you try to change someone, now you get irritated because they won't change. They get irritated at you trying to change them. You've opened a box of worms you don't need to open. So live with what brought you there and accept it. And to me, that's been very, very successful, at least for both of us. There's times we get upset with each other. I think that's just part of normal life. You have that. But to me, that is number one, is don't try to change somebody. And that could be your son, your daughter, your neighbor, whatever it may happen to be, not just your spouse.
True. People don't change, really.
Bill, one thing that has changed is the advent of technology, where you can be looking at people's profiles online and meeting people from all over the world. And with that comes opportunity, but also challenge, because people are not always honest about their picture. And why do guys put pictures of sunsets, or they've got a ball cap on back? I don't understand this. But can you tell us, how has the advent of online dating enhanced your business or changed it in any way?
Well, the biggest complaint most single people have is what you just said. Online dating is a horror. That people lie, they put up different things about themselves. The other thing that's a terrible thing for single people to do is get involved texting each other. I actually ask my clients not to text the people they meet online. You know, maybe in the beginning you have one text back and forth, but what I want them to do is set up a meeting. And the first meeting I want them to set up is on Zoom. I talk about Zoom dating because it's a wonderful way to see if that person is what they said they are. If you put up a picture that's 20 years younger than you are presently and you get on the Zoom call, I'm going to know right away that you were pulling my leg. And I didn't have to leave my house. I didn't have to go anywhere. I didn't have to put myself in any danger or anything.
And so, Bill, is it fair to say that if that Zoom call, that Zoom meeting, the person is not who they are in that picture, it's not their picture, or it's a picture from 20 years ago, that's a red flag and goodbye? Because people will give excuses. Well, I couldn't find a more recent picture, and there was no, all kinds of excuses. And I'm not saying that me personally would think this, but you think, okay, okay, I'll give them another chance.
No.
Okay.
If they lied about that, they'll lie about other things. People know what they're doing. I mean, when I look at online dating pictures, it blows my mind how little time and effort goes into picking the photos people put online of themselves. They're either bad angles, they look bad. I've seen people put 5 pictures online and everyone makes them look like a different person. There's no consistency. They put pictures online with other people in them, especially male and female in the same picture. That doesn't do much. The more honest you are, the better the result you're going to have.
So in addition to online dating, do you work with people to scope out the supermarket and the frozen
Oh,
foods?
yeah. Absolutely. One of the things that's very interesting, I do some exercises with my clients. I will tell them, when you go, I want you to go out and walk the streets of the town you live in. If there's a downtown area, if there's a shopping mall, wherever you go with your normal life, put your phone in your pocket and look at the people that are walking past you. And make sure you are dressed properly, that you look your best, and that you walk like you have some confidence. I teach people how to walk. It's amazing. I tell them, stop slumping down, stop looking down at the ground when you walk. Look up. Look excited. Look happy. And see how other people around you react to you. Not that you're looking for somebody to stop you and have a conversation. Just to see if people actually look at you and you look at them. Do people smile at you? It's amazing when people get out in the world like that with their phone in their pocket, so they're not always glued to their phone. What happens? Now you actually can see there are human beings out there. And there might be someone you might choose to meet. Say hello, start a conversation.
Good advice for sure. What direction do you give people when they actually are meeting, that first meeting after Zoom? Is it you have maybe a text back and forth, you have a Zoom, and then is there the first meeting?
Right. If you enjoyed the Zoom call, then, okay, let's set up a meet. Let's meet at Starbucks. Let's meet at lunch. Let's meet at the diner, wherever. And you know what the person looks like, so you know who they are. You're not wandering around wondering, where's this person? And when you sit down with them, I expect you, one, to look your best. Two, you want to have conversation. You want to learn about them. You want to learn what's important to them. What's their life about? You're meeting someone who's got X years old, and so there's a life behind that. So let's talk about life. Let's find out who you are, where you come from, what are you doing? What does your future look like? These are things that you want to have conversations about. And, you might have that coffee or lunch, and it goes well. Okay, you might make another lunch date or a dinner date, and you want to continue talking. I tell my clients, if the person is like, well, we just had coffee, let's go back to my apartment. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Because there are players out there who are just looking to take advantage of people. So you take it slow. You're not an accident looking for a place to happen.
When you're taking it slow and you discover a stealth deal breaker, something that was never discussed, how do you go about dealing with that after you've had a dozen or so dates with somebody? And then I have a follow-up after that, but go ahead.
Okay, well, hopefully it didn't take you that long to get to the deal breaker, but if it did after a dozen dates, you just be honest with the person. I'm sorry, I can't deal with that. And end it. It's much better than lying about it, trying to cover it up, pretending it didn't happen, and then somewhere down the road, when things are when you're more entangled, your lives together, that gets to you, and then you break up.
Okay, because the follow-up to that deals with a good close friend. It's been many years since I've seen them, but they're next door neighbors. They had been living there together at least a dozen years. They had been, the neighbors had been married. And then all of a sudden, gambling was opened in their state. Something that the wife had never done before, but all of a sudden she found out she had an addiction to gambling. And, that led to, these credit cards maxed out and all sorts of things going wrong. And he's asking me, what can you, I said, I don't know. I have no idea. I can't, but that's a deal breaker, obviously, but you never knew it happened until your world changed around you. You're already married for a dozen, 2 dozen years. And now this major calamity, perfect storm happens that destroys that relationship. Is that salvageable at all? Or is that just, I'm sorry, we got to end this. How do you handle that kind of situation? Or do you?
Well, I mean, usually there are telltale signs long before it reaches that point where you've maxed out all the credit cards. A lot of times people that are in relationships stop communicating. They stop being interested enough in their partner to know really what's going on with that partner. What drove that partner to go gambling? If they had a relationship where they were in great communication, where they did things together, they might have gone together, and the person may have seen what's going on. I mean, I just don't believe it just one day happened that the person said, "Oh my God, my credit cards are maxed out, we're broke, and we got a problem."
No, you're absolutely right. It was over probably a year and a half. They did go together because it was an Indian reservation. They both enjoyed it. They'd spent a weekend there. They were very successful on the front end. They got a lot of money coming in the door, reinforced the habit. And then all of a sudden, he's at work and she's taking the car and going up and spending a couple hours. I was only an hour away or something, I think, hour and a half. But everything seemed normal. They seemed to be enjoying it. But again, this deal breaker blossomed where I honestly don't know the people. I can't say how well they communicated or whatever. I just know that the next door neighbors were good friends of mine from the military. And so it was just, I hear your pain. I feel it, but I can't tell you what, I can't even tell you what I would do.
Right. Well, again, it becomes a question of communication. They were having fun, but I mean, you think about it. If your wife or your husband was going away somewhere every day or getting involved gambling, it would show up way before it hit the breaking point.
Mhm.
You'd be looking at paying the credit card bills. You'd be looking at things. I would think it would be a hard surprise unless the first time they went out by themselves, they blew everything.
Yeah.
Bill, a question I have for you, sort of on the reverse side, is I remember my dad, when he was alive, he would say, you don't have to tell the guy everything about yourself on the first or second date. And then I just was speaking to someone else, and she's like, no, you need to tell on the first date. So do I meet somebody and I go, hi, I have ulcerative colitis, I have facial eczema, I work 80 hours a week. You like me now?
Not necessarily that direct, but it would come out. A lot of it might come out in the fact if he says, let's go to dinner. Well, now you have colitis, so obviously your diet is an issue. So, he wants to pick a restaurant that doesn't go along with what you have. You probably should be honest and open about it. I always ask my clients, what are your lemons? And they say, what do you mean by what are my lemons? And I say, tell me what you think is wrong with you. Or do you have a health issue? Do you have something that could scare people away? Because we can take those lemons and make sweet lemonade out of them if we do it correctly.
I like that.
Do you have a
Sweet
background in
lemonade.
psychology or something? How did you get into this world of love and romance and relationships and the whole gambit? Because it just sounds so. You got a lot of experience. You have answers. You know what works, what doesn't. But what did you have as a background, and how did you get into this?
I got married at a very young age. The marriage lasted 7 years, and when it was over, I said to myself, how does something that starts out so joyously crash and burn in a rubble of heartbreak and disaster? And I wanted to find an answer to that question because I've always been a hopeless romantic. And I was living in Manhattan, and I just started speaking to people about it. Single people. I was asking them questions about their dating life and how it was meeting people and all this stuff. And divorced people. How'd you meet your spouse? Why did it end? And I was compiling all this information. I started running group classes in the city at some organizations. And again, same type thing, hearing these horror stories. And it led me to the conclusion that, one, we were never taught anything about relationships. So everything we learned about the opposite sex came from what we observed, what our friends told us, what our parents might have told us, what we saw in the movies, what we saw on television. And we never got the opportunity. No one told us we had the opportunity to think for ourselves. We didn't know any of this stuff. And, it used to be years ago that when you were 18, 19, 20 years old, you were getting married. You haven't even grown up enough yet, and you're getting married. Now, a lot of those marriages actually lasted because the people just stayed together. There was a dependency issue. They had children, the women took care of the children, the man worked, and that's the way they did it, and they stayed together. Whether there was love or not there, they stayed together. Today, you're in a society where everybody works. You have a society where women are very powerful now. They're not stay at home in a house dress. And men and women have a tough time communicating with each other. That's a big part of the program that I do, is teaching people how to communicate with the opposite sex. Because we speak two different languages. And that's why there's so much conflict and things that happen. So, it takes a lot of understanding to have a successful relationship.
I think you're absolutely right. As a male, I come home, my wife has a problem, I automatically jump on a solution. She doesn't want a solution. She just wants to vent. And it took me a long time. And even today, I still just go back to the old mode. Well, this is what I do. Well, she's not interested in what I would do. She just wants to vent. And I have to recognize that that's part of that communication. But it's the communication thing is a major portion of any relationship, because you have to have that frequent and truthful understanding of what's really bothering somebody. Nothing's bothering. Well, if something's bothering you, we just don't want to talk about it. Okay, then don't talk about it. At some point in time, it's going to come out, or it's going to manifest itself. So yeah, learning to talk, I can see where that's a major portion of any kind of initial relationship that two people should have.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you help people communicate?
Well, by explaining to them the differences between men and women. We talk about it. We go through some little scenarios and stuff to point out the issues that have happened in their life so they can understand it. They have to understand what motivates a man, what motivates a woman. They have to understand that how the brain operates, the male brain and the female brain operate differently. And by understanding that, it gives them a better opportunity to help each other. And therefore, they can communicate better.
Dr. JACALYN offers a course on elevated listening, where a lot of the things that we typically do, as you say, we're not taught about relationships. We're not taught about listening. We're not taught about communication. We're not taught about finance. You just go down the list. There's a lot of things we're never taught. But all of a sudden, you become aware of something, and okay, I shouldn't butt in. I shouldn't do this. I should, not form a prejudged opinion. There's a lot of things there. So this relationship on communication and listening and understanding and not prejudging, there's a lot of things there that are just in general, just anybody, whether you're in a relationship or not. These are things that just make us a better human being. Would you not agree?
Correct.
Bill, a question I have for you is, I've been divorced long enough that when I fill out forms, I'm single. I'm no longer divorced. I'm single. So it used to be like for Red, married for all of these years, that was the goal. And then as we get older, it's almost like, if I think of the corporate world, instead of you're there from cradle to grave, you are there for 2 hours, you'll give it a try, and then you'll leave there and you go somewhere else. And I feel like relationships are like that as well. So as part of this process, when you work with people, are we supposed to be having the mindset that this is till death do us part, if this is the second chapter or third chapter of our lives? Or is it just look for someone that you can be a good companion with and have fun? I guess that's on the list.
Right. But see, well, there's a question that I ask every single client. And that question is, how do you choose to live the rest of your life? And that causes them to stop and think, and they have to take some time to think about it. And when you have an answer to that question, it may say, I would want a partner that I can spend the rest of my life with, that we can travel with, we can do this, we can do that, I want to do this, that kind of thing. And, there's nothing wrong with that. And relationships can last if there's good communication. To me, there are 4 pillars to a successful relationship. And that's truth, trust, communication, and romance. Without those 4 things, you have a relationship that's not totally strong, and therefore susceptible for a breakup.
When you have a successful marriage for a number of years, and death occurs because of disease or accident or some other extenuating circumstance, are you able to help that person through that grieving process into a new relationship, or is that something that you don't work with at all?
No, I do work with people that are widowed or widowers. Now, that's the toughest group to work with because of what you just said, but also because even if their marriage was not the greatest, when someone passes, they seem to become a saint. So people have to understand that you're not replacing that person in your life. They are who they are, and they are what they are or were to you. You're now building a new chapter in your life. And you can't compare the new person to the person that you were married with. Because if you do, you're going to constantly have upset. It's not going to work out.
So that somebody in their 50s or 60s or whatever, their definition of themselves and their needs is totally different than it was 30, 40 years ago.
Correct.
Because now something has interrupted their life. So they have to literally go back to the beginning and say, what's important to me? How do you define yourself? What makes you happy? The same things that you would talk to somebody 25 years of age, somebody 65 years of age who just lost a loved one. That's a different, same process, different animal.
Correct.
Okay.
And it's all based on how do you choose to live the rest of your life, whether you got 1 year left or 30 years left. How do you choose to invest those years?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the key word, not spend those years, but invest those years.
Bill, the answer coming up for me is alone.
If that's truly where you are and you're happy with that, then that's fine. That's fine. It's I always ask them, how do you choose to live the rest of your life? What are you looking for in your life? What makes you happy? The other question is, who are you? When you know who you are and you know what you're looking for, then there may be someone, there may not be. I mean, there are people who choose to be by themselves, but I also found that there are people who tell me that they really don't want anybody. They want to just be free. And I really feel that that's more of, I'm afraid of succeeding. Because the life you have presently is the life you know. And when you meet someone new, they come into your life that's going to change the life you know. And for some people, that's more frightening than not having someone in their life.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's a great point. Bill, I want to make sure we get to show your website and find out, while we're pulling this up, what is the process of working with you? What does that look like?
The way I work with my clients, my program is basically an 8-week program. It involves my audiobook. So the clients acquire my audiobook and we set up a coaching program. Now, some just take the audiobook and want to do it themselves. That's fine. Everything is in there. Or we do it as a one-on-one coaching. And they can go to romancebychoice.com. All the contact information is there. And we can get started.
Fantastic. Is there any place special that you'd like us to go on the website?
I know there's information on everything there. If you're divorced, there's a page. If you're single, if there's a page. If you're, widowed, there's a page. So, they can go through the website and see exactly what's there. As it says, discover a new paradigm for relationships.
I don't see the part when you want multiple spouses. Assuming you can afford them.
All right. So we're just going through who you are, your story.
Yeah.
Bill, who is a good client for you? Who would you ideally like to talk to?
It's a tough question because the answer is anyone between the ages of 26 and 70 plus years of age who is serious about wanting to have a successful relationship. And they're willing to do the work. I'm not a matchmaker, so I don't say, hey, I got 3 people I can introduce you to. I call what I do dream weaving because I work with what's going on in their head. I teach them everything they need to know to succeed. And when they do that, they have the success they're looking for. It's amazing. I have 6 musical albums that go along with my audiobook. The albums are all to create the emotional component that's needed. There's an album to prepare for love. There's an album for the attitude you need to maintain while you're searching for your love. There's 2 albums for a man to give a woman and 2 albums for a woman to give a man. These are love songs that really impact the life. And people say to me after they listen to this, I never realized that you could feel that way about someone. But it's all about emotion.
Are you more successful with men or women in your line of work?
Either way, I've had success with both. I do have more women than men because, as we know, men sometimes don't want to ask for help. They think they can do it themselves. Women are more open to learning.
Is the majority of your clientele single, or are they divorced?
It's a mixed bag, and it flows up and down. Sometimes there'll be a lot of people in their 30s and 40s. Other times there's younger people, older people. And each age group is interesting to work with.
Has COVID affected your business much at all?
No, as a matter of fact, COVID helped grow my business because all of these online networking groups that sprang up as a way of people meeting each other allowed me to spread my brand around the world. And so it's been a boom for my business, and it's attracted people from all over the country, all over different countries.
What's the best way for somebody to reach you?
As I say, they can go to they can send me an email. The email address is right there, or they can go to my website. Everything they need to know to reach me is there.
Okay, so for our audio audience, it's Romance by Choice, no spaces in between. So Romance by Choice at optonline.net. So it's Romance by Choice at optonline.net. And your website is www.romancebychoice.com, and they can contact you that way too, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Bill, I just want to know if it's possible when you set someone you give them the tools that they need, and they have this Zoom, and then they go out for their live meeting, and they've got you in their ears so you can hear what's going on, and you go, don't say that, tell him this, tell her that. Is that any type of coaching that you provide?
Well, not that I'm in their ear while they're on the date, but they all know that all my clients know they can contact me anytime there is an issue. And there will be from time to time. They'll meet people, they'll date for several months, they'll break up, and then they'll call me, and I'll say, well, let's go over what happened. And usually there's something on the deal breaker list that they overlooked, or figured, they could change it or do something because they liked everything else and it didn't work out. The methodology works if the people work it.
Yeah, I think one of the deal breakers, I know we're at the end of our show, but I've had this happen, I don't know how many times, is the guy just starts putting his hands on me. He doesn't even know me. It starts touching like different ways, and you say, hey, could you give me some space? And that seems to be even more of a call to get out of control. So I don't know. That's the deal breaker.
Again, I don't know the people I weren't, what led up to it, how it happened, but yeah, that's unacceptable behavior. And if they don't respect you for it, then obviously it's a goodbye.
Exactly. And sadly, we have to say goodbye right now because we're at the end of our show. But I have really enjoyed this time with you, Bill, and I've learned a lot. Thank you so much. What are the key messages that you want to leave our audience with as we close out today?
Well, it's really just love yourself, respect yourself, and know that love is possible for everyone, no matter who you are. Because there's always somebody out there to love you when you love yourself.
Well said. Thank you, Bill. We look forward to having you back on some other shows as well, and continue smiling.
Take care now.
You too. Bye. That was really enjoyable.
That was very enlightening.
Now, for somebody who's been married for so many years, did anything new present itself that you might not have been aware of?
I think there's always those incremental things that, okay, yeah, I knew that, but maybe I just needed it reinforced a little bit. And so there's always, you know me, I'm always learning. It doesn't matter what it is. And the subject of romance and communications and listening and all of those things, yeah, we know them, but do we know them as well as we think we do? And so it's always nice to have a little more clarity, a little bit better understanding of something. Sometimes we think, oh, he or she is widowed, that's the end of their life, but it's not. Or whatever may happen to be there, whether it's, mental health or addictions or whatever else. There are just so many things that happen in our lives, and we're never prepared for it because we don't see the telltale signs. And I think that's probably one of the things that I did pick up from Bill, was the fact that there are telltale signs, but we never look at them closely enough to see that something is going down the wrong path. But so, yes, I enjoyed it a lot.
Yes, I did too. I'm going to spotlight you, Red, for you to share your contact information. By the way, we want to welcome Red O'Loughlin, author page. People who are watching the program today for the first time, welcome to our platform. Red, how can people reach out to you, and what is your next show about for today?
Okay, the easiest way to reach me is my phone number or by email. My phone number is 281-687-1188. 281-687-1188. Just call me. My email address is red.o'loughlin. It's red like the color, R-E-D. O'Loughlin spelled O-L-A-U-G-H-L-I-N @gmail.com. Those are my two preferred methods of contact. The next show coming up in about 11 minutes is Talking Heads, and we're starting a new, hopefully 6-part series. They're usually around 6, sometimes more, rarely less. And we're talking about pain, cause, management, options. And we're starting out today with the first session on pain. And please join me there or catch me in the archives on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. And there's a lot of information on there from, we just finished a 7-part series on weight management, an 8-part series on cancer. We have Alzheimer's, a lot of episodes on various aspects of health and wellness. So today, we're going to be broaching the subject of pain. And so please join me. In the meantime, I bid you adieu. Have a wonderful time. And Dr. JACALYN, let me change studios, and I will catch you directly in just a few minutes.
All right. Thank you, Red. Bye for now. And for our audience, for those of you who might be new to our platform, USA Global TV and Radio, did you know that we are currently streaming on 8 different destinations as well as Red? So that makes 9. And we recently partnered with E360 TV. So some of our TV shows will be going over their network also to get us onto Amazon, Roku, Apple TV, and Android devices. If you'd like to join our team, if you think you have what it takes to be an expert presenter, you have 5 years or more experience in your field, please do reach out. If you'd like to be a show host or a co-host or a panelist, we would love to have you and see if it's a good fit for both of us. You can contact us by contacting me, if I can find my own link here somewhere. Here it is. You can go to Dr. JACALYN at usaglobaltv.com, or you can go to our website. If you'd like to be a guest, we offer all guests the opportunity to come on for free 3 times. And then after that, there is a small fee. And people have said to me, well, what do you mean? Why are you charging a small fee? Well, we did offer people 10 interviews a year. And what we found was that people were just coming here and using us for publicity, but not really putting anything back into the platform. Of course, this is a business. It takes a lot to run. So we want to have as many people as possible join us so they can share their voice. If you'd like to be one, please do reach out. Thank you so much. We will be coming right back, as Red just mentioned. Before we do, we want to say hello to one of our sponsors. She is the show host for this new show, Elegance, Polished Demeanor, and Posh Living. And her name is Zane Carson Carruth, and she is an expert when it comes to etiquette and protocol. And she's also an international award-winning children's book author. Let's hear from her now.
Hi, my name is Zane Carson Carruth, and I'm the author of this book, The World's First Tooth Fairy Ever.
Reading is magic. Studies have shown that reading to your children lays the foundation for greater success in life. Reading helps develop language and vocabulary skills. It helps improve memory, and it encourages curiosity and inspires creativity. The benefits are immeasurable, and as a parent, you'll benefit too. In only 10 or 15 minutes a day, you'll be creating warm memories and a bonding experience that will last for years to come. So take time to read to your children. Read them books about things that engage and interest them. Tales of fairies and magic fascinate children, and as everyone knows, the Tooth Fairy is at the top of the list. If your child loves magic, wands, adventure, and what child doesn't, you'll love reading them books from the trademarked series, The World's First Tooth Fairy Ever. Follow along as Abella, the world's first tooth fairy, accidentally starts the tooth fairy tradition. Learn the tricks of being a professional tooth fairy in the book, Abella Starts a Tooth Fairy School. Your child's imagination will soar as you read the adventures of Abella and her magic wand. These wonderful books are available at worldsfirsttoothfairy.com and at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Walmart.